What happened? Every time Jesus said Abba, there is a word so ancient and so precise that every time Jesus spoke it or lived from within it, the structure of what the world called impossible quietly gave way. It is not a metaphor. It is not a theological title. It is an Aramaic transmission, a two-syllable resonance that the Gnostic masters recognized as one of the primary frequency codes embedded in the gospel record. 7 times across the 4 gospels, Jesus activates this word, consciously, deliberately, at moments of maximum tension. Each time, without exception, reality bends. Tonight, we trace all 7 activations. And before this transmission ends, you will have spoken the code yourself. Stay with this until the end. The first activation does not come from Jesus' lips. It comes from above, which is precisely the point. At the Jordan River, before a single miracle has been performed, before any sermon has been delivered, before the world has any reason to believe this man is anything other than a carpenter from a forgotten province, the Father speaks. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. The Aramaic root behind that declaration carries the same vibrational signature as Abba. It is the voice of the source recognizing what it has sent into the world. What makes this moment pivotal in the Gnostic reading is not the spectacle of the open sky or the descending dove. It is the sequence. Identity precedes mission. Recognition precedes action. The Father speaks before the Son has done anything that the world would count as significant. And this is not incidental. It is the architectural principle underlying everything that follows in the gospel record. Most people living inside the modern framework are trying to become something, accumulating evidence that they belong, earning worth through performance, building a case for their own existence. The baptism of Jesus dismantles that architecture entirely. The voice does not arrive after the work is done. It comes before the work has begun. And what the voice transmits is not reward. It is recognition. The Gnostic tradition has always drawn that line with precision. Approval is conditional. Recognition is ontological. The Father at the Jordan is not responding to what Jesus has accomplished. He is naming aloud what has always been true inside the source. The heavens split. The pneuma descends in the form of a dove, and in the oldest initiatic traditions. The dove is the symbol of the divine breath that animates the frequency field between realms. Deus, the impossibility that collapses at the Jordan, is not physical. It is the lie that identity must be constructed from the outside in. Once that lie falls, every other impossibility becomes negotiable. Because a being who knows exactly who they are in the source cannot be contained by the world's definitions of what is achievable or what is real. Deus the second activation happens in the place least likely to produce miracles. The desert, where there is nothing. 40 days of fasting. No food, no disciples, no audience to witness anything. The only company is the adversary, and the adversary arrives at exactly the moment of maximum depletion. Jesus, this is not accidental. The Gnostic teaching on initiation is precise on this point. The test always follows the transmission. The wilderness comes after the Jordan. The identity named from above must now be held against everything the lower world can produce. 3 times the adversary speaks, and 3 times he opens the same wound. If you are the Son of God, the attack is not physical. It is ontological. He is not asking Jesus to perform an act of power. He is asking him to prove something. And a being who needs to prove their identity to an adversary has already abandoned the Abba frequency, because Abba does not prove, it rests. It does not perform to satisfy an external demand. It knows. Each time, Jesus answers with a line from the ancient texts, not as religious citation, but as frequency counter. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. These are not arguments. They are vibrational locks, resonance patterns drawn from the source tradition that create a coherence field the adversary cannot enter. The attacks arrive. The frequency holds. One by one, the challenges dissolve without a trace. The impossibility that surrenders here is one of the most stubborn the human field carries. The compulsion to prove yourself under pressure. Jesus moves through the desert not by silencing his hunger. He acknowledges it fully, but by refusing to let the adversary assign meaning to what the body is experiencing. The body is depleted. The Abba transmission is not. That distinction is everything. After this video was first shared, hundreds asked the same question. Where can they go deeper? We put together a complete guide with everything you need. The link is in the comments. The third activation is the most radical transmission in the entire gospel record, and it arrives not as a miracle, but as an instruction. A disciple approaches Jesus with a simple request. Lord, teach us to pray. Jesus' response should have scandalized everyone within earshot. He says, when you pray, say Father. Abba. The intimate Aramaic address a small child uses for their parent at home. The address no Jewish teacher of his era would dare place in the mouths of ordinary people. Jesus gives it away, openly, deliberately, to anyone willing to receive it. The Gnostic tradition has always treated this moment as the central transmission of the entire teaching, not the Sermon on the Mount, not the resurrection appearances. This, Jesus, distributing his own access code to the source, freely, to anyone who asks. In the initiatic schools of Egypt and Persia that shaped the lineages from which Gnostic wisdom emerged, access to the divine frequency was guarded, carefully earned, through years of preparation, transmitted only to those confirmed as ready. Jesus stands inside that tradition and opens the gate to everyone standing in the field. Abba, if this is the first time you've encountered this teaching, the foundational guide is in the description. Start there. Start there. What makes the Lord's Prayer a frequency document rather than a liturgical formula is its architecture. It does not begin with petition. It does not begin with confession or lamentation. It begins with location, our Father, who is in the heavens, establishing the vibrational address before anything is asked or sought. You cannot transmit to a frequency you have not located. The prayer opens by finding the signal, and everything else flows from that position of contact. The impossibility that collapses here is access itself. Before this transmission, the presence of the source was mediated through priests, through temple systems, through layers of religious architecture that kept the ordinary person at a careful distance. With the word Abba, Jesus removes every layer of that mediation. The channel opens directly, and it opens to anyone willing to speak the word with the resonance of a child who trusts without condition. The raising of Lazarus, Abba the fourth activation, contains one of the most disorienting moments in the entire gospel record. Jesus stands before the sealed tomb of Lazarus. 4 days have passed. The stone has not moved. The smell of death is present and real. In that moment, Jesus does not petition the Father. He does not plead for intervention. He thanks. Father, I thank you that you have heard me, past tense, before the stone moves, before Lazarus breathes, before a single visible thing has shifted. The gratitude arrives before the evidence. In the Gnostic framework, this is not poetic language. It is technical instruction. The frequency of thanksgiving and the frequency of manifestation operate in the same vibrational band, which is precisely why thanksgiving functions as an activation state rather than a response state. Most people wait until something becomes visible before they allow themselves to feel grateful. Jesus demonstrates the inversion. The gratitude creates the field into which the miracle is drawn. He is not thanking the Father for something that has already appeared in the visible realm. He is thanking the Father for something happening in the unseen, and the visible world is about to align with it completely. Then comes the command, Lazarus, come out. Not a request, not a petition addressed upward. A command issued from within the Abba frequency, from a being so completely aligned with the source that the instruction carries the authority of the source itself. The tomb is not asked to release, it is told, and it obeys. The impossibility that surrenders here is the sequence the world insists upon. See it, then believe it, then be grateful. The Abba transmission reverses that order entirely. Be grateful, then believe, then see it. In the hidden tradition, this reversal is called the grammar of faith, and Jesus demonstrates it publicly, beside a 4-year-old tomb, in front of witnesses who cannot process what they are watching. The complete guide is pinned in the first comment to the most important Aramaic words, their exact pronunciation, and the full activation protocols. For those ready to go deeper, the link is there waiting. Gethsemane. This is the only moment in all 4 Gospels where the Aramaic word is preserved exactly as Jesus spoke it. Mark, writing for a Greek-speaking audience, keeps it intact. Abba, as if translation would damage the frequency. The scene is Gethsemane, an olive garden on the night of the arrest. The disciples have fallen asleep. The betrayer is moving through the dark toward the garden. Jesus falls forward onto the ground. What he speaks next is the most honest prayer in the entire biblical record. He does not perform faith. He does not suppress what he is experiencing. He transmits directly from the center of it. Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will. 3 movements inside a single transmission. The intimate address, the honest desire, and the surrender. Nothing is bypassed. Nothing is spiritually managed. The Gethsemane transmission carries a teaching that conventional religion consistently softens. Authentic access to the Abba frequency does not require the suppression of what is human. The Gnostic reading of this scene has always emphasized what the orthodox tradition softens. This is a moment of genuine horror. The cup Jesus is being asked to drink is not symbolic. In the oldest, initiatic traditions, what he is entering is the complete experience of separation from the source, the darkest initiation available to a conscious being moving through a physical body. He does not walk toward it with calm resolution. He sweats. He asks 3 times for another way. The aloneness is total, and yet he finishes the prayer, not with resignation, but with the most powerful act available to a being who knows the Abba frequency. He places his own will inside the will of the source. Not what I want, what you want. In the hidden tradition, that act is not weakness. It is the highest possible activation of the code, because it proves that the relationship with the source is strong enough to hold even the moment when nothing in the visible world makes sense. Ontikros. Jesus speaks to the Father twice. The first time is intercession. Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing. The second is release. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. The seventh activation arrives not as a shout, but as a breath. Not as power, but as complete surrender. And the Gnostic tradition has always recognized in those two utterances the full arc of the transmission made visible. The one who holds the Abba frequency to the very end becomes indistinguishable from the frequency itself. The 7 activations follow a single, initiatic arc. Identity received at the Jordan. Identity defended in the desert. Identity shared with everyone through the Lord's Prayer. Identity demonstrated through gratitude beside a sealed tomb. Identity held in the garden through complete aloneness. Identity glorified in the hour the world called defeat, and identity released on the cross as the final and most complete act of the Abba transmission. That arc is not historical only, it is a map. It describes the path of any being moving from the self, the world assigned toward the self the source has always recognized. The word Abba was not buried with Jesus. It was distributed. It was always a transmission meant to be received, carried, and spoken by anyone willing to hold it, and it was always meant to be yours. Everything in this video is the foundation. The complete guide is pinned in the first comment, the most important Aramaic words, their exact pronunciation, and the full activation protocols. For those ready to go deeper, the link is there waiting for you. And if this activated something in you, if you felt a shift while watching, you are ready for what comes next. In the next video, we enter the Aramaic activation codes for healing, the precise frequency sequence Jesus used to restore the body at the cellular level. The same technology, a deeper transmission. Do not miss Italiano. Right now, before you close this video, speak these 4 words aloud. Abakadaska? Ruhalalaha, then come to the comments and tell us, what did you feel? What shifted? We read every single response. And if this teaching found you today, subscribe to this channel. Every week, we go deeper into the ancient frequency codes that were always meant to be yours.